Hi there, this is John Rust, candidate for the United States Senate for the great state of Indiana. Wow, what a week. Started off sure the Indiana Election Commission would respect the will of Hoosier voters who clearly prefer my candidacy more than any other United States Senate candidate by the sheer number of ballot access signatures, way more than any other candidate. They threw me and hundreds off the ballot all across the state of Indiana because I and the others were not bought and paid for political hacks under their thumb. Listen to this. Incredibly, the same rule they used to kick myself and hundreds off the ballot would have also kicked Abraham Lincoln himself off the ballot in 1860. Had Lincoln still lived in Indiana where his boyhood cabin was located, there was no way he could have qualified under the law that Indiana Supreme Court is apparently going to uphold. Indiana now has to endure a dark fog of career politicians like Anne Hathaway, Diego Morales, and Todd Rokita who actively work to throw Hoosiers off the ballot, actively violating the will of the people and their constitutional rights. But don't give up hope. The law was clearly never in effect the entire time of my candidacy filing, so I have filed in state court to get back on the ballot. I plan on taking this entire issue to the United States Supreme Court to get this unconstitutional law finally removed from the shoulders of the citizens of Indiana. It is absolutely wrong to ban 81% of Hoosiers from running for political office. I can't believe that even has to be said. It is no longer just about my candidacy. I'm in this because I want all Hoosiers to have their rights restored, and I will not stop until I do so. Well, at least a big victory in my campaign this week was at least starting to get Mitch McConnell removed from Republican Senate leadership. He has said he will resign in November after the election, but that is not good enough. We need Senate Republican leaders who will fight for the border now and who will fight for fiscal responsibility now. So I have launched a new ad just today highlighting that my opponent Jim Banks refuses to sign the pledge to the people of Indiana to call for the immediate removal of Mitch McConnell from Senate Republican leadership. You can see the ad right here. I'm U.S. Senate candidate John Rust, and I approve this message.
Jim Banks is bought and paid for by Mitch McConnell. President Trump and John Rust are fighting to remove McConnell from Senate Republican leadership.
Mitch is not the guy. He's not doing the job.
Where does Jim Banks stand?
I had a fundraiser last week in Louisville, and Leader McConnell was nice enough to stop by.
Jim Banks is Mitch McConnell's hand-picked stooge. John Rust will work for Hoosiers, not the political insiders. A vote for John Rust is a vote for America first.
Jim Banks is Mitch's bought and paid for stooge, so I expect him to remain silent. Jim Banks has no voice. This is exactly why I'm running. We are all sick of career politicians like Jim Banks who are neutered eunuchs in Washington, who are just puppets of the establishment. President Trump is at the border in Texas this week highlighting once again his call for a full border wall. I was at the border in December firsthand, and we have no border. In places, it is just a low barbed wire fence. As I'm sure you have seen in my ads by now, Jim Banks is on the record calling for an influx of immigration. I'm U.S. Senate candidate John Rust, and I approve this message.
Our country is being invaded. Thousands pour across the southern border every day, bringing fentanyl and violence. Who's to blame? Career politicians like Jim Banks. Jim Banks said Indiana needed an influx of immigration. He campaigned with Paul Ryan and is endorsed by Mitch McConnell, who stopped Trump's border wall. Jim Banks has betrayed Indiana on the border.
He certainly got his wish. Now I have to go to Washington to clean up his mess. There is no way in hell if Jim Banks makes it to the United States Senate we will ever have a full border wall. It is why they removed me from the ballot. I will get it done because I am not bought and paid for by the dark forces that really control Jim Banks and the Indiana Republican Party elites. The more we get into the details of the border wall and Jim Banks' influx of immigration, the more and more obvious this is a planned invasion of our country. The Biden State Department is funding the United Nations to provide travel loans to illegal aliens all around the world to come to the USA at U.S. taxpayer expense. Jim Banks is a member of Congress today and doing nothing about this, instead voting for GOP leadership that continues to fund the influx of immigration that is now an invasion of our country. You know what Jim Banks is doing today? He's tweeting about his pronouns. His pronouns are bought and paid for. I will go to Washington and work to remove immediately any GOP member of Senate leadership that stands in my way of cutting off funding for this invasion. Folks, this is serious. This is exactly why they threw me off the ballot. The establishment fears me because they know I'll get the job done. The establishment just wants all these issues to fester so they can campaign on them. Think about this. If they build the wall, they can't campaign on it. Either side. We can't kick the can down the road anymore. It's why I'm running. I am beholden to you, the voters of Indiana, not the Washington elites. Thank you for listening and have a great day.